Capitol Hill. And Mr. Speaker, thanks for coming back. And what a day we have here. We are told to expect a shutdown that begins tomorrow. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah, it is if the Senate Democrats keep trying to shut down the government. That's what's going on here, Bill. This is absolutely needless, completely unnecessary, and wholly because of Senate Democrats trying to shut down the government, holding the entire government hostage for a completely unrelated issue that doesn't even have a deadline right now. Look, what we do have a deadline is if we do have a government shutdown that the Democrats insist on, troops don't get paid. They're holding our military hostage. Children's health insurance dries up. In 7 states run out of money for their children's health insurance. The medical device tax kicks in, so anybody getting a medical procedure that involves a device is going to pay a whole lot more for that procedure. Those are things that are going to happen if the Senate Democrats continue to insist on shutting down the government.
Okay,
I find it kind of interesting, Bill. Let me just say one more thing. Senator Schumer said this very tactic, this very strategy a few years ago was governmental chaos. Nancy Pelosi called it legislative arson. This is exactly what they're doing, and it's completely unnecessary to hold the government hostage for something that's completely unrelated. And by the way, those DACA negotiations are underway. There are good faith bipartisan negotiations underway on DACA right now that have been occurring for some time, and that deadline is not until March. So what they're simply trying to do is hold all of government hostage, our troops, kids' health insurance, for a completely unrelated issue, and I think it's shameful.
Yeah, you know your history. Republicans have taken heat for shutdowns in the past, and Democrats are arguing you got the majority in the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Yeah.
Now, right. I know you need 60 votes in the Senate. That means you need 9 Democrats. At this rate, it seems like you need 13 Democrats.
Yeah. So we have. So
what's
Bill,
your
we have
argument on that?
Yeah, we have experience in feudal gestures. I will grant you that. So we know a thing or two about these things. And that's what I think the Democrats are hoping. They're hoping that they can get us into a shutdown and make Republicans look bad when they're the ones who get us into the shutdown. They're hoping that it would be just like you said. I think I saw Wolf Blitzer saying this on CNN the other day, which is, well, the Republicans are in control of the House and the Senate and the White House. Why would they shut down the government? I think the Democrats are hoping that the American people won't know that they had their fingerprints all over this, that the American people won't know that it is the Senate Democrats who are actually filibustering this, because as you said, Bill, unfortunately, it takes 60 votes in the Senate to do any of this stuff. I found it interesting that the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Schumer, yesterday said we should do an appropriations process. Guess what, Bill? The House passed all of the appropriation bills before the fiscal year deadline, September 30th, and they've been sitting in the Senate since September. So every single appropriation bill to fund all of government, those bills passed the House and are sitting in the Senate. We passed the defense appropriations bill twice. It's sitting in the Senate. We passed the hurricane relief appropriation bill in December. It's sitting in the Senate. And there's one theme as to why none of this activity is occurring. No action's happening. Senate Democrats are filibustering appropriations, funding the government, and now they're filibustering just a continuing resolution to keep the government open.
Okay, now I like Wolf. I used to work with him, but what are you watching CNN for? Kidding.
Somebody showed me a clip, sorry.
Apparently. Listen, even if you get a deal, you get an extension till mid-February, 4 weeks from now. Even if you get a deal, DACA expires in March.
That's right.
Can this Congress do a deal over the next 6 weeks? It takes care of the budget?
I think so.
That takes care of Dreamers? That takes care of border security? You're saying you can get all of that done?
Yeah, you can't do it in 4 or 5 days, which some people are suggesting. That would be ridiculous. But you can do it in a number of weeks. You know why, Bill? Because we've been talking about it, negotiating it for more than that. The House already passed these bills with respect to funding. So do I believe we can fix these issues? Do we want to deport 700,000 DACA kids? No, we don't want to do that. But we also don't want to have another 700,000 DACA kids in 5 years. We want to fix the underlying problem, and that requires security. That requires interior enforcement, border security, fixing not just the symptom but the root cause of the DACA problem. Those negotiations are good faith. They're underway. And can we get the government funded? Yeah, we've already passed these bills in the House. So we've already proven we're willing to and we're able to do it. The Senate Democrats got to stop filibustering, come to the table, and negotiate in good faith and get these things done.
You had a big vote last night. The Freedom Caucus, conservative members of the Republican Party, crossed over and voted yes with you. I feel as if that threw Senate Democrats a bit for a loop.
I think that's right.
Do you agree with that impression?
Yeah, I think they were counting on us to being disunified, that we would ourselves, quote unquote, shut the government down. we saw this play for what it was. The Senate Democrats are holding our men and women in uniform hostage over an unrelated issue. The Senate Democrats are holding children's health insurance hostage for an unrelated issue. And so every one of our Republican members realize that's just wrong. We're going to call them on it. We're going to keep the government funded. We're going to keep the government going because we are in the majority, and we're going to call them on this. And that's what they're doing. They're basically holding all of government hostage. Troops won't get paid after tomorrow if the Senate Democrats have their way. 7 states will run out of children's health insurance if the Senate Democrats have their way. It's ridiculous, and it is legislative arson. It is governmental chaos, as Chuck and Nancy used to say, and I don't think they should do it.
You're asking for a simple up or down vote. I mean, that's their argument.
Yeah, just pass. Yeah. Let me just say one thing, Bill.
Can you give them something to win over these 13 votes that you're hunting?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. The bill that we passed, they support it. That's the craziest thing about this is the chip in extension bill. The Democrats support that. The keeping the government funded. The Democrats support that. There's nothing in the bill that the House passed yesterday. Not a single thing that the Democrats oppose. That's what's so ironic about all of this. So this is nothing more than legislative hostage taking, and the collateral damage in this are the men and women in military, people going out and getting medical procedures, and kids who need health insurance. And so my point is, the bill we passed, it's a short-term extension to make sure these productive legislative talks get completed. The Democrats don't oppose anything in there, so that's what's so weird about this.
Okay, we're going to hold you over here a little bit. Sandra's going to get in here as well.
Speaker Ryan, it's Sandra Smith. So Mick Mulvaney.
Hey, Sandra, how you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
Mick Mulvaney was just walking into the White House, and our producers asked him what are the chances of a shutdown at this point. He's putting it between 50 and 60%. He and Mark Short are about to hold a briefing at the White House any minute now. Working under the premise, he says he's working under the premise that there will be a shutdown. What happens in the 2 or 3 days that the government shut down? What sort of deal making will you engage in?
Well, I can't say what's going to happen. Mick can answer how the shutdown looks, but the deal is let's not shut the government down. Let's keep the government going. Let's keep our troops funded. Let's get children's health insurance. 7 states are going to run out of money really soon here, and they're going to have to cut off the CHIP program. We don't want to do that. We fund it for 6 years. The Democrats agree with that. And so the deal is let's just keep our talks going. By the way, we want to get a DACA solution that's balanced, that works, and everybody knows this. So those talks are actually underway right now. I just talked to Kevin McCarthy, who's on his way to those bipartisan negotiations. So the next 2 or 3 days, the next number of days, keep those talks going, get those solutions. And so there's really nothing different that should happen other than the Democrats should not shut down the government.
I'll ask you a question I just asked Mark Short. And could anything have been done differently to avoid this?
Yes, the Democrats, we passed a bill to fund the government. And by the way, we made sure that the bill we passed had nothing that Democrats would object to. So we didn't, people say sometimes you put a poison pill and you play politics. We just said, no. Let's just keep the government funded. Let's address these urgent matters. S-chip that's falling apart. Medical device tax is kicking in and hitting people in about 10 days. So we made sure that everything we put in this bill are things that Democrats want, agree to, and support. So I guess we could have done things differently, which is we could have put Republican priorities in here that Democrats don't support and made it a partisan issue. But we didn't do that. And by the way, some Democrats did vote for this in the House yesterday. We did have some Democrats come to the floor saying, I don't want to play these games. This is a good faith effort. This is a good bill. I'm voting for it.
About 6 Democrats, I believe?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. The last time we went down this road, national parks were closed and you know, the signs were put up. Moose should have told you out front. Remember that line from Vacation? We are told that this administration will not, quote unquote, weaponize this shutdown, which means that the closing of various monuments, national parks will not be made in order to make a show of the showdown. Do you have information on that or what people can expect to see?
Having been the budget chair, I'm sort of familiar with how this works. I've been through a few of these shutdown scenarios because I've been around for a while. I do recall President Obama trying to weaponize the shutdown, making it a big exploitative event. And the White House, the administration has a lot of discretion on how that works. So that's probably what I assume Mick Mulvaney is going to get questions about, because the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, has a lot of discretion on how to handle such a situation. And so this is one of those deals where the president doesn't want to shut down. Republicans don't want to shut down. The House passed a bill to prevent a shutdown, and it's solely up to Senate Democrats, led by Senator Schumer, who used to call this governmental chaos, or Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader, who used to call this legislative arson, don't do what you yourself say is wrong, and just keep the government funded and stay involved in these good faith bipartisan negotiations. That's what civil people do. That's what we should be doing, and that is what we have done here in the House.
I take it that's a headline from our conversation today. I mean, you're saying that you can get a deal done on border security in DACA. Well,
yeah,
we are 72 hours removed from that White House blow-up. I mean, is Dick Durbin?
Yeah, you mean the thing with Durbin in the office?
Yeah,
look,
that thing that went round and round. Are you saying that's history now?
Yes, it's history because, you know, guess what? People have been talking since that meeting in negotiations about how to fix DACA. You have the House Majority Leader, the House Minority Whip. You have the Senate Majority Whip, the Senate Minority Whip, Dick Durbin, John Cornyn, Kevin McCarthy, and Steny Hoyer, conducting negotiations based on, remember that meeting we had before that the press was in with the president in the cabinet room?
Yes, I do, yes.
Coming from that came these four leaders would conduct negotiations on how to proceed on DACA. Those meetings have been taking place since this other blow-up you talk about in the Oval Office. And so those good faith negotiations are underway right now. And what we're saying is don't hold the government hostage over this. Let those negotiations continue.
Do you think Chuck Schumer?
We want to get it done.
Do you think Chuck Schumer's operating in good faith at this point?
Yeah, I don't think he should shut the government down. And I think knowing Chuck, look, I like Chuck. I know Chuck really well. The Chuck Schumer of a few years ago who called this governmental chaos should listen to himself and not shut the government down this time.
Speaker Ryan, could I ask you one last question? I know you've got to run here.
Yeah, I got to get going.
I'm looking at the markets, and the markets, you know, they look back at history when we were up against a government shutdown. Markets feared that, and we're down 2 points in the Dow. Do you think there is that fear of a government shutdown that there once was? Why does it look so different today?
No, because I think the fundamentals of the economy are really strong. I think you've got incredible good news coming from the tax reform. So the fundamentals in the markets are really good. You have the party in power not wanting the shutdown. You have the party in power acting responsibly, making sure that we want to not let these bad things happen. You have the minority power that has an extraordinary power in the Senate through the filibuster to try and bring forward a shutdown. So I think people see what this is. People who are observers of this know that this is Senate Democrats trying to use their filibuster tool to shut down the government over unrelated items. And I think people see it for what it is.
Thank you for your time. We know you got to run. Appreciate you stopping by today.
You
the
bet.
House Speaker
Take care.
Paul Ryan.